Warno has something that AAA developers just can't seem to figure out. And what that is, it's passion. Passion for the game you're developing, passion for your team, passion for the community, and passion for creating an expertly well crafted war game that has engaging gameplay, immersive stories, and plenty of multiplayer content to come back to. So, what does all that passion, grit, and determination get you? Well, it gets you 5 Army General campaigns, 8 operations, 18 division, over 1,000 units that were expertly researched, modeled, and even voice lined. 6 nations: the United States, West Germany, the United Kingdom, France for NATO, the Soviet Union, East Germany for the Warsaw Pact, playable in skirmish and multiplayer, plus Belgium and the Army General only. Extensive tutorials and a full range of skirmish, multiplayer, and cooperative modes. All of that content for $39.99. If you're a war gamer or a real-time strategy gamer or just someone who loves tactical and strategy games, you'll know that that $39.99 price for all of that content is a great deal, especially with the slew of AAA games that have come out for $60 that are missing content, poorly modeled multiplayer, or just generally lack immersion and regular updates. So over the last 2 years, what has Warno done in early access? Well, there's been more than 100 dev blogs. They've completely rebuilt the game from the ground up several times, figuring out how they want to use artillery, tank, and mechanized warfare. There's been over 48 patches, and now there's 24 maps for you to play on. An absolute massive amount of content and an absolute massive amount of passion went into developing this game. So, what are my first impressions of Warno? That's what this video is truly about. I've spent a lot of time playing Warno. I've had so much fun. I've played PvP, I've played the skirmish, I played operations, and I've played through a good portion of the Army General campaigns. The one you're looking at right now is the very first one, and it's designated short, and it's actually an extremely long campaign with a lot of content, a lot of battles, and a lot of things for you to dive into. And to be honest, Warno is a breath of fresh air from modern wargaming. The battles are absolutely massive. The graphics look so good. Everything's well modeled. You have air combat, you have artillery combat, you have mechanized infantry and tank combat. You have everything you need for a combined arms operation and combined arms warfare. It truly immerses you into the battle. Although there are some times where I feel like it's an absolute click fest and you kind of miss out on that immersion at times, unable to like zoom in on your units to see what's going on the battlefield is something I would like to see them refine a little bit, because I do enjoy Warno at like the tactical level, but I also enjoy watching the battles unfold, watching my units engage, and really enjoying that tactical battle and just the graphics, because it's such a shame that it kind of devolves into like battle boxes and you just watch these boxes move across the battlefield, watch missiles fly and explosions explode, but you're so far out and so far removed from that that it just feels like you could be immersed a lot more. I think the one thing that's also unique about Warno is it's not a game where you're going to play it from update to update. We all have those games in our library, whether they're early access or whether they're full releases, where we just consume all the content and then we're just waiting for that next update. We're just waiting for the new Army General campaigns, or we're just waiting for that new single player content. Well, that's one of the good things about Warno is one, there's a ton of content for you to go through, but they've also mapped out a 1 or 2 year roadmap with tons of content already on its way. So you won't really be waiting for an update or another update or just a change. The developers always constantly update the game. They fix, they balance. And the multiplayer, while the big draw, the skirmish battles are easily replayable. The Army General campaigns are long. There's so much there to sink your teeth into. There's so much content for you to battle through. And it's just something that just adds a lot of replayability to where you're not just consuming all the content in 8 hours. You have just hundreds, or if not like at least 100 hours of just pure gameplay, pure content for you to explore. And that's not even talking about how you can define the units on the battlefield or set up your divisions, whether you want to go more mechanized or whether you want to go more armor or artillery based. You can build different divisions and just really sculpt your own gameplay on the battlefield. So is Warno good for beginners or kind of people who are a little just not so tactically inclined? Warno's done a lot to improve the gameplay and to make it more accessible. There's menus. You can kind of set default standard operating procedures for your tanks, for your mechanized units. You can have them auto engage. You can set up things like counter battery fire for your artillery, hold fire. While there it does remove some of that click fest that Warno can devolve into, there are some really positive things in this. And some of those SOPs really make the game a lot more playable, especially for someone like me who plays a lot of slower war games, a lot of more tactical, more methodical, less spammy war games. You kind of just set your tanks up to auto engage units as they come across. They can engage soft targets. So if you've played Armor Brigade, you're going to find something to enjoy here. You're going to be more familiar with those systems. You can't set your range rings or things like that, but you can set stances for if a unit is out of range. You can call it more aggressive. You can say more passive. You can set units to defend, to hold, or to just be neutral. And overall, it's something that's like really I wish a lot of war games would adopt, especially ones that are a bit more micro intensive. So they added what I would call a tactical AI similar to combat mission, where your units are just going to play without needing you to babysit them. So instead of that tank sitting there not engaging, if a unit pops up within its line of sight, it's going to choose to engage it. If that unit is out of range, depending on your setting, it will say, hey, I'm going to engage this with my cannons anyway or my machine guns. However, you told me to be passive, so I'm going to be a bit more passive and not engage those units. It's something that just I truly like seeing being added to war games. A lot of people will call it making it like casual, but I don't necessarily agree with that. There is a certain like casualification with some war games, but not so much in Warno. Warno is already one of those extremely accessible war games where it's just fun to play, lots of spam, lots of fun, lots of management, and it's something that's a lot of fun. So definitely check it out. Like if that sounds something you would enjoy. So let's talk about single player content. I mentioned all those Army General campaigns, I mentioned all the operations, and I mentioned skirmish. So we're specifically excluding multiplayer right now. There is a ton of content, and it's just you can pause the game, you can set up your standard operating procedures, and it's something that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. They also have a bunch of planned DLC, so even if you play through those initial five or so Army General campaigns, you're going to be able to play the DLC Army General campaigns as well. And I'm glad to see there's a focus on some Army General campaigns post launch because a lot of that time a lot of companies will focus too hard into multiplayer, whereas there's a good thriving single player community within real-time strategy games. I mean, that's why they all include skirmish. Like if you develop a war game without like a skirmish mode, it's truly not going to thrive very well. So that PvE aspect is definitely within Warno, and it's something that I'm glad they're going to continue to grow, continue to evolve, and continue to develop. It's probably one of the more challenging things to develop because you need to craft AI, you need to build missions, you need to build units and divisions for the player, and you kind of need to give them something to battle or fight over, especially with varying terrain. I'm excited to see how the terrain changes within Warno. I know we're operating over like the Falda Gap under the Central Area Command, but as we go into like the Northern Area Command or the Southern Area Command, I would like to see how that evolves as well. And obviously, there's going to be a constant drip of single player or just DLCs. That's just how Eugen operates. That's how a lot of war games now operate, whether we're talking Paradox or whether we're talking wargaming in general. There is going to be that drip of war game content or downloadable content. So with Eugen, you're in it for the long haul. Steel Division was developed for a long time. It's still continuing to be developed. War Game, I believe they actually released a DLC for that War Game Red Dragon a few years back. So there's always new content, always new things, and there's just going to be a ton of stuff for you to constantly find and play, tweak, and have a good time. I would like to see more varied units, and I would like to learn the air combat a bit more because the helicopters are just awesome with their ATGMs firing rockets, whether that's also the jet aircraft. And I want to see how the game evolves over time and where the developers take it, where they take the single player content, and where they take the multiplayer content. Now, my opinion's positive. I really enjoy Warno. I enjoy the gameplay. It's a nice little brain break from like constantly thinking about where I'm going to move my units. I can kind of decompress after work and just have like a good game, just a fun casual skirmish where I either dominate the AI, or if I want to go and just have a casual good time in PvP, I would just go into 4v4 or even 10v10 and kind of just spam artillery or just kind of use tanks and just create like a real fun immersive environment. I mean, whether win or lose, it's just a lot of fun to kind of just break down, not break down, but like decompress and like close out your day. While it does seem like stressful at times, I believe it's not as stressful as it seems. I mean, I've played tons of first person shooters, and you're always like paying attention. In Warno single player, you can pause it, you can step away, you can pause the battle and think, you can change your SOPs, and it's just a lot more fun. I mean, it's just something fun to do. It's just something to think about if you want to play more immersive, more tactical, more strategic, more like militaristic, then that's something Warno provides, obviously, in the single player campaign. And I think that's something that a lot of games are missing out on is just that ability to pause a game, think your move through, and then press forward. Having that, being always constantly engaged, always constantly needing to focus, especially as war gamers as we age, because a lot of my viewers are a bit older. I do think that is something you will enjoy. The younger people, obviously, like being constantly engaged may not be as so like brain intensive for you, or you're able to step away from the game a lot easier, or it's not doesn't take as much for you to need to step away from the game. So like for like dads, it's something to check out for like just families in general. And honestly, like the graphics, we can't go all wrong with the graphics at all. I mean, it's one of the better games with better graphics. I mean, it's a $40, I guess we could call it double A U-Gen game. Like if you compare it to Homeworld or Company of Heroes, the graphics look comparable. I mean, the stylized effort is like it takes a little bit to get used to, but it has that 80s theme. The graphics are immersive, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous. There's a lot of work, a lot of passion went into it. I like to see them modeled. You know, it'd be interesting to get different camos for some of the weapon systems, but that's neither here nor there. Obviously, there are a lot of like grays and blacks and browns, but at the end of the day, it holds your immersion. They have that really authentic feel, that really militaristic feel, that really like keeping you engaged in the game and keeping you engaged in like that theater of war. So let's go over negatives real quick. Obviously, negatives are just part of the thing, part of a VIT channel, but I do feel like it is a a click fest at times. Obviously, you can pause it. That's one of the positives, but you can get really intense, really engaged in these battles, and you're just constantly zoomed out watching the boxes battle. And so that's just something that can be a bit negative, especially for people who want that more up close, more immersive experience. The battle boxes are going to really break a lot of people, or at least like it's going to a lot of deter a lot of them. Um, the maps, I mean, I it seemed extremely not contrasty, but very like it has like a haze to it, and I always found that a bit strange. I need to check my video card settings. For some reason, the rotate button, I don't know if it's my mouse or if it's the game, but it's really hard to engage the rotate button on your middle mouse wheel. And if you watch this video, you'll see me like struggling to rotate. And I think that's more my mouse, less the game. But if it is the game and you struggle with that, let me know. Some more negatives. I mean, I played the game so much. It's just like I'm glad throughout the early access period, I was kind of a bit bummed they kept like changing everything. Like they couldn't really land on how they wanted the game to feel. And it kind of felt like a mashup of Steel Division and Red Dragon at the time, which is fine with me. I never played Red Dragon too much, and I kind of don't super enjoy the sector gameplay. I mean I'm glad it's back, but it's just sometimes it's not for me. Like just capturing that block on the map. I really enjoy the frontline mechanic, but that just depends on your preference. So, final opinions. Should you buy? Absolutely. I mean, the game's flooded with AAA real time strategy games right now. Warno is going to be a standout. It's going to be a hidden gem, especially if you're like someone who's a bit scared, like, oh, it's $40. It's going to be a bit low quality. Let me get Homeworld 3 or Company of Heroes. Warno is absolutely not low quality. It's a well developed game. It's made by passionate developers. It has a passionate, thriving community, whether that's single player or multiplayer. So for $40, it's basically a steal. How that compares to previous titles, I'm not quite sure. I've played Steel Division, I played Steel Division 44, and I played Air Land Battle. So making those comparisons, I feel like for $40 you're getting a lot of content, especially in now where everyone kind of just drip feeds you content. Warner is really front loading you. They're giving you so much content right now, so much to play through, and then they're going to pile on more content for you to like play through more army generals, more skirmishes, more units. So it's definitely like a genre to get involved. It's fun to learn, easy, hard to master. I mean, obviously that's something we have to say. And then like the weapon systems, it's just awesome to see the T-72s cook off. It's awesome to see the multi-rocket launch systems. It's awesome to see the helicopters, the air fights, the gun fights. Just like a complete combined arms experience brought to your computer. And so you're gonna like enjoy it, and you don't need to be scared from it if you're a less casual gamer or a less casual war gamer. I play this really slowly. I pause it. I have my SOP set up, and I just play it like I have to step away because I'll have to step away at some point. There's so much here. There's so much fun, and I hope to see the game evolve. I know I've said that several times, but you're gonna enjoy it. And if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and obviously share the video and leave a comment. YouTube loves when you share videos, despite what people think. It loves it. Share the video to everyone you know who likes Warno. That's all. Peace out.